Hi, I'm Sarah, and my body is extremely fragile. I once broke a finger just playing volleyball, and another time a parrot landed on my arm and his claws went right through my skin and flesh as if I was made of butter. Doctors don't have a name for my condition, but my mom couldn't afford to spend any more money on medical bills for me. Therefore, each day after school, she would lock me up in an empty room where I couldn't injure myself. But before I continue, please subscribe to share my story. The room only had a pillow to sit on and some books to read. Without any furniture, I couldn't hit my leg anywhere. And to read books, I always wore gloves to avoid cutting my skin. I spend most of my time looking out the window, though, to watch my sister Kiara play with her friends. I envied her so much. She was popular, adventurous, and an athlete. She even won a national hockey tournament, something my mom was super proud of. Here, take a photo of your sister and me. While I was a loser, my sister was living her best life, and she kept rubbing it in my face. She once told me, "People like you, that get easily injured, aren't meant to survive." Had you been born thousands of years ago when humans lived in the wild, you would have died young and quickly been forgotten. It's called survival of the fittest, or in your case, death of the weakest. Ironically, my sister had everything I could dream of, and yet she still resented me. She often mentioned how I had put our family into debt with my medical bills. "You are a burden to everyone. Mom even told me she wants to sell you away, so scientists can experiment on your freak body." "You liar! And don't call me weak!" "Well then, go prove yourself." "How?" "Well, I know a cliff you can climb. I'll give you my gear, and if you make it to the top, I'll never bother you again." I imagined how impressed my mom would be if she found out I'd made it to the top of that cliff. So I agreed to the challenge, and at night we both snuck out of the house. But then we arrived there, and I got cold feet. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea. No, I climbed it many times. It's safe as long as you use your pittance. It was too late to back out, so I started climbing. It was an easy route, but also a windy night. The climb should only take an hour, but 2 hours later, I was barely halfway up and completely exhausted. Then a gust of wind threw me off and smashed me against the rock face. I broke my wrist and couldn't continue climbing. Meanwhile, my sister had already gone back home, which meant I hung there until the next morning when Kiara came back with Mom. "Have you lost your mind?" A professional helicopter had to come and rescue me, which cost a staggering $15,000. I was so ashamed to put my mom into further debt that afterward, I never did something dangerous again. Instead, I spent all my afternoons at a library, safe and secure. Hey, can I ask why you're wearing gloves? Because I'm a freak. I have super frail skin. It's weird. Sometimes a bunch of bad decisions and misfortune lead you to a place or situation that makes it all worth it. The boy's name was Fred, and he was a legit genius. School was so easy for him that his teachers allowed him to only show up for exams. That way, he could spend most of his time studying much more advanced topics by himself. We fell in love and have been dating now for 5 years. When Fred was 17, he even published this software tool for businesses that even today, 8 years later, makes us $20,000 a month with no work required whatsoever. It's completely passive income, and it allows us now to travel the world completely stress-free. Fred is super kind and also always makes sure I don't injure myself. I guess that dating a nerd isn't the worst thing. So please never lose hope. Life can always change in an instant. If you liked my story, go subscribe to share my story and leave a like on this video.